We are actively moving out of the system of indoctrination and miseducation. I got the low battery. Please charge me. Information. Making investments of time. Investments of time. Understanding knowledge. Navigation. Push. Knowledge is a factor in how we reconstruction of the mind. Rewire. Divine. Real. It's real. We have gotten off track and now we're thinking all the way. We're here to rewire that way of thinking. That way of thinking got the people stuck in the trenches of life. Of life. Activate the power of critical thinking. What is to be a critical thinker? You gotta focus on logic, love, and common sense. Common sense bringing it all together. Changing your state of mind. What state do you exist in? Where you living in? We coming for the reconstruction of the mind. Reconstruction of the mind. Why divine time. We coming for the mind. We coming for the mind. We coming to heal the mind. Reconstruction of the mind is a new way of thinking for the mind. Coming to heal the mind. Thinking is the intellectual discipline process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, and analyzing, evaluating information based on personal observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication. To be a critical thinker, you must see intellectual value that transcends the subject matter, division, truth, clarity, accuracy, precision, vision, and consistency, relevance, good reasons, depth, and fairness. Being fair to one another. Reconstruction of the mind. Reconstruction of the mind. Coming to rewire in divine time. Divine time. Coming for the mind to heal the mind. We're healing the mind. Reconstruction of the mind. What are you thinking? We're here to rewire in divine time. Divine time. Coming for the mind. The mind. Healing the mind. We must have the capacity to think for ourselves and stop listening to everyone else and where they are. Where are you? Where do you stand? Identify with that and use critical thinking to evaluate the information based on your personal observation experience, reflecting on what you know, reasoning, and your communication. Here to reconstruct the mind.
Islamism.
Greetings,
Another
greetings. How
groovy
are
beat
you? Huh?
and groovy, another groovy beat
Yeah,
and
that was
groovy
my
words to catch that good vibration.
good. I'm glad you liked that. That was one of my first songs uh coming into doing this. But yes, reconstruction of the mind. And I thought that was a good choice to pick coming in tonight because of what we're talking about, law and legal terms.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I did record it to play it, the reading that I did. So uh we could pretty much announce what it is that we'll be discussing tonight. So you want to do that?
What read?
I've recorded it, so I just let it play,
Yes, go ahead, let it play.
and that way it's known what we're coming here to do tonight.
We We the people are the Empire of Nubia, the Ubuntu nation, which is our international political and social position, which we take full accountability and responsibility for. That's the third world order and the rise of the matriarch. We are the new beings, Nubians. We are the new form of our ancestors of the ancient Assyrian Empire. We are the chosen ones to set the record straight about who we are and what we are here to do. We are here to bring love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice and righteousness, and to right the wrongs of those who have come before us. We hold the truth in our hearts and use our words through communication that does not consist of arguments and senseless debates to bring the message to we the people. We stand on the common law of the land, our land, Turtle Island, as the Autochthonous People of the Americas and surrounding islands.
So that's what we're here to do, and that's who we are.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. That is another beautiful piece. I love the way your mind works and the way you bring it all together to express what it is that we're saying.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I take that as a gift. I have been gifted with uh, the gift of being able to, and this is not bragging or tooting my own horn or anything, but there's certain things about ourselves or oneself that we must recognize so that we can come into our purpose. And if we don't come into our purpose, then what are we here for? We're wasting time. And so the ultimate goal is to get into yourself and to understand who you are and what your purpose is on this planet in this journey of life. So I have learned to take great information and put it into bite-sized chunks, um, small enough for a baby to consume the information. Because as we've seen, babies are uh, aware of what's right and what's wrong before you tell them, because they have a sense of knowing already. We just have to mold them into that um, acknowledgement and respect of it within themselves. So, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So where I agree with accountability, responsibility, and duty to self, but in that self, there is a broader picture which ends up pointing to the masses. And within the masses, it's not like we can control who the masses are.
Right.
So those of us who choose to live a certain way, even if you just say, I want to live a clean life, you must protect that clean life. And that's as big as staying away from people and things to writing down exactly what it is that you're about to express to other individuals. And this is where we as a people begin to lose our bearing. So right now, today, a lot of people who would be called conscious people, Moors, Israelites, and basically people who would come to our table. A lot of people have the idea that when this change happens, order will follow. And me, I know I'm a sensible person, not saying they aren't. If law and order isn't established before the change, after the change, anarchy. Right now, we don't have the change. So let's pretend, even though it's really not pretending, but let's pretend the police, state police, and the feds aren't doing what they said they're supposed to do. Right now in our neighborhoods, in our communities, we are looking at what we'll get in the end. We see the anarchy today. So if whatever you consider as protecting your community left you, you would have anarchy on your streets right now. The young boys aren't listening, and to a large degree, the young girls aren't listening. So those of us who are older, I'm not going to say elderly because I'm not an elder. I'm not elderly at all in that sense. But those of us who are older and are protecting children and things like that, we would be the ones who lead. So right now, where we stand as a people, our words that we are using to destroy ourselves and give away our freedom is referring to ourselves as Black and African American, as United States citizens, as minority, as Democrat and or Republican. We have a right as Aboriginal to the land to claim ourselves as a people, a respected, well-documented people that takes off the angst of Black and African American. Those terms were developed by white supremacy. Now, I see people being careful with words. They say kick, the K word for killed, and they're abbreviating everything. Right now, we're not monetized, so I'm not trying to be funny. I do know we need to censor ourselves. This is a part of law. But certain words like white supremacy, I am going to say. So, being that white supremacy is so clearly our problem, why would we keep utilizing the tools they develop in order to have this social, political, and economic situation that we exist in today? If we go to the United States Census and read the census, we will find 5 different races. But only one of the races is not a part of the original people of the earth, and that is Blacks and African Americans. If Caucasian, Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders, Asians, and I'm gonna play with this word too, Native American, if they're all a part of the original people, then who are Black and African American who are not considered by definition a part of the original people? Native American. We are not Native Americans nor Indians. Native American was stolen, and Indian is a misconception of who the people were on this land prior to Columbus. So we are not Native American. We are indigenous. We are aboriginal. Then if we want to take on certain names, I'm a Moor. There is nothing stopping anybody from being Songhai, Mali, Arabian. We don't know our families are the original ones of all these places. There's nothing wrong with being a German, a Frenchman, an Englishman, an Irish, a Scot. We don't know that we're the original from these places. It all got hidden in history. And when they, 1865, Reconstruction period, they reconstructed the story of history. And it became history. They took out where we were from. They took out our rights to land. This is why our people are poor. This is why because our people don't identify with anything. Our people think they're disconnected when they are the connection. Only reading law will you find this. No other part of studies of history really show this to you like law does. But I didn't really read it. But Putin pulled something out of the Russian archives, and it has to deal with us. So some of us are even Russian. However, we don't know this. And this is the beginning of the law of self that must be applied where we are a part of the land. We are not separate from the land that's underneath our feet. Without us knowing, all the rich people operate in trust. Your churches are in trust. Your masjids are in trust. You're not in a trust because you separated yourself from a land. And I'm going to say a land because what they call Canada, North America, Central America, and South America, that's all one place.
Right.
That's all one land mass. And all the islands around it, this is their mainland. This is their home too. We act like when there's a storm in Ethiopia, in Haiti. When there's a storm in Haiti, and all them Haitians end up on Florida's doorstep, it's treated like it's a new phenomenon. It's as old and as ancient as the people.
Exactly.
Cuba too.
Mexico.
When they have that badness there, they come here.
Mm-hmm.
And so who's in the way? Who's really starting the trouble? Who's really outside of law? If we deal with the aboriginals of Mexico, they cannot illegally enter North America. They was already here.
Right.
This is their home.
That's true.
Texas, California. This is our home. Before anybody tells us that it's not.
Right.
Or we stand around and begin to act and believe on those premises, and we make ourselves a minority of the land when we're a majority. We've allowed ourselves to be separated from the rest of the family. up in the north and down in the south and on all the islands. We are the and we gotta learn how to face ourselves and deal with our individual self. And so there's a lot more that can be said about through the law. But if we don't get this simple premise that we are not black, African American, United States citizens, Democrats and Republicans, then we lost the game already, and our children's future is just as lost. I yield the floor.
So you put into my mind the question of why are people so comfortable with the terms black and African American when that's not what we were originally um, calling ourselves. Like most people now here in the recent years, but I was born in the 80s, and I don't remember my family saying, "Hey, we're black." You make sure you tell them you're black. You know what I'm saying? Nobody ever told me I was black. I learned at school that they were calling me black. And then it was, I remember when Jesse Jackson was running for president, and we were so proud, and he made that term African American popular. Or was it black popular? Because it was in my teenage years when African American became a popular term. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute now. I don't hear any other group of people, race or ethnicity, being changed every 7 to 10 years to something new, so that we never can identify, because we are always separating ourselves with language. And I also made a note that language is law, lawful language. If you don't understand the language of law, you're lost in this world. My brother would be calling me right now. He hardly ever calls me. But the language of law is detrimental, and that's the term black is an unlawful term to call yourself. And so when you're not balancing yourself within the law, then you do become a part of that minority, which is the inferior people. In order to have a supreme being or group of people to be superior to other people, there has to be someone or a group of people that accept inferiority. So we've become, not, just in general, generally speaking, the people have become comfortable with inferiority because we've lost a sense of self. And so when I begin to come into understanding what it is to be a Moor, no one had taught me about Moorish anything. I didn't know anything about Moors, but I can remember seeing those maroon garments and things like that. This is not a new
Fezes,
thing. Hmm?
the fezes.
The fez, yes. And so we've seen them, but they've been worn by a group of people that stole them from the original people and changed the meaning of what that fez was to symbolize and represent. So
Yes, ma'am.
now the people who are supposed to be wearing fezes with pride and honor laugh at it. Why you got that thing on your head looking all crazy, looking like a Shriner, and you don't
Yeah.
know that you really are a Shriner? You
You're
really
my
are
son. You
a
are a
Mason. Yes, my son. You really are my son. So Absolutely. There's a lot of things that, and the funny thing is that masonry has always been something very interesting to me. Um, I in the army, I grew up around a lot of masons, so uh, we were, I was privy to the brotherhood and the sisterhood, Eastern Stars and masonry, and so I saw how they stuck together. They did everything together. They watched each other's backs. They protected one another. They held sacred they held sacred information within their secrets. And that was what had everyone else separated from what was sacred and true, was the secrets. In order to be a part of this organization, you must keep these secrets sacred. You must keep what's sacred secret. And you
And
don't
so,
talk about it.
in the end, did you ever discover what their sacred secrets were?
Um, Not to say right out yes, but the funny thing is that it's me.
All the way around.
It's
So
me.
that's a double answer right there, because the Mason's secret is self, inner self, to get self right and to carry self with purpose upon the earth. That's a Mason's secret. Then there's the other Mason secret, that this is our land. And so when you say it's me, there's a double implication there on the secrecy, and then there's more involved, because the use of alchemy, the use of the zodiac and the Kabbalah, all of that is a part of what they teach. But all of that is getting to know self.
Right. Absolutely.
And so, and that's what makes us my son, because our ancestors had us studying on that level, GP, for general principles. You studied on the level that they've taken to put in secrets and put in secret organizations. You have to graduate according to what they want, when we already had a system for this. And so our children were speaking 5 and 6 languages by the time they was 10. Can we redesign that today, where our children are speaking 5 and 6? Of course we can. But if we don't do it, it's not the school system job. It's not the politician's job. It's your and my job. Well, once we start doing too much, then they stop us. Well, black people, yeah. But those of us who know that we are aboriginals, they don't. They don't stop us. In fact, they congratulate us on knowing who we are. Because with all this talk about the world destroying, if we remember the biblical story, they were always searching for something. The, the reason things are the way they are today, they're searching for the Savior. And they know that one of our children is the Savior. That's why they put the drugs in the community, to slow that down and to slow it down. But now the age of Aquarius, and people are opening up. It's one of our people, one of our children, who's going to rise up with the knowledge. He bears the smart 666.
But it's not just one. It's many.
Thank you. Okay, it's not right. It's not just one.
Right. It's not just one. And see, we're looking for that one person, but that one person really is ourselves. So when we seek higher knowledge and to seek to become the greatest version of ourselves, that is the one. You become your own savior. Because who's going to come and save me when everybody got their own thing going on? See, I had to realize that through my journey. I couldn't expect anyone to stop their life and their routines and patterns to save me out of my. I made the decision to get me where I am or where I was. So it was up to me to make a different decision to get what I was looking for, to be the change that I wanted to see.
Yes, ma'am.
It was
As
all up
we've
to
been
me.
saying that every week now.
Yeah, and that because that's a constant reminder to self that if you want to be something other than what you see, then the change is in you to make.
Definitely.
It's the decision. We're all one decision away from the best decision of our life or the worst decision of our life.
Amen. Amen. So your original question about how did we become comfortable
Yeah.
with using this term. So after 1865, instead of our people coming together and building a constitution, we decided to join in with the United States.
Yeah.
And so some of us became senators right off the bat. If you study 1866 to 1890, some of us became senators. 1866 to 1890, we became senators, especially in the South.
Yeah.
You know where the racism was? It was in the South. We had the most senators. So then they came with the Reconstruction period. The Reconstruction period included a CBA, a collective bargaining agreement. This is the first form of a union, the real strength of having an economy on this land, a functioning, running economy. We signed the CBAs, sent our children to their school, and our children began to learn from them who we were. So by the time you get to 1900, and you got people like Edward Du Bois and a few others names that go back that were published then, who graduated from their colleges, the terms black, Negro were on their college tomes. So in order for them to be published, they put black and Negro on their college pen. And when that ink came out on the paper, every successive generation who read who they were read it through those eyes and with those types of images of self.
Yeah. Right.
And as time went on, it just began to be taught.
That makes
But
sense.
now this is where, go ahead.
No, I'm listening. I just was agreeing that does make sense.
So now we have Prophet Noble Ali, who started the first Canaanite temple in 1913. Then it became a Moorish science temple. The interesting thing is, when he wrote out our Constitution, Article 6 states that we are not black and African American, Ethiopians, or any of those slave terms. Now, Prophet Noble Drew Ali died in 1929. In 1930, you get Master Farad Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad, and they're teaching black and African Americans and the white man. And these things are out of balance with us being free people.
I think that's very interesting to hear you go over the progression of that from your knowledge and information. And I think it's important to know everything that you just said because it brings it to reality that, the words didn't just fall out of the sky. There was coaxing, there was coercions. You know what I'm saying? Um, I find it interesting the point you made about those who went to college and received that college education from the suppressors or the colonizers. They had to speak a certain language, which became a legal language, the legal terms. They were no longer operating in law. They were now operating in legal terms. So that brings me to the point where what's the difference between law and legal, or living under the law or within the law and living within legal rights and privileges? There's a
So
great yes.
a law. So now the matriarch, a young woman, a little girl, has been found legal to have sex with. If she's 16, the system says she's legal. But it lawfully speaking, is she mature enough to be a mother? Because if she's legally able to have sex with grown men, then that means she's a mother. But by the law of nature, is that 16-year-old ready for that?
Absolutely
Forget
not.
talking about younger. Say that, Sci-Star.
No, I said absolutely not. I'm listening.
So when we take law and legal, we realize that legal is where you get the greed, the seven sins come out of what's legal. Because what's law is law and it stands on its own. That's why so when we look at what has been built, what we're taught as Moors from Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the people in Ireland consider themselves Irish based on their bloodline of where they were born.
Right.
In Ireland, they're all Irish. They do Irish things. And that's to say, Germany, it's a bloodline. Well, we Moors are a bloodline.
Facts.
And we've always been scattered all over the earth. So when you read the Bible or whatever, it makes it sound like a punishment that people are being scattered all over the earth when these people were already scattered all over the earth.
Right.
They were
The
us.
Navi. Yes, the Navi, the original navigators of the waters and lands.
So we were already everywhere. Now, did we have different names? Yeah. Songhai, Mali, Mayan, Cherokee, Wampanoag, Algonquin. We had many names. But when the world started to form itself, and when I say that, we got to understand that we said that we were the kings and queens of the earth first. That means we were speaking the languages of law first. We were telling people what law was. All they did was come behind us and pick up the power that you and I left on the ground from fighting each other due to religions.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already everywhere. We already got a million different names. Any one of us today can pick up on those names if that's what one chooses to do. But you must make yourself an aboriginal, because the signing of the document is what has made us inferior as a people on this planet right now, in the different lands that we're in. Even the Chinese, they're not Chinese, they're Mandarin. Chinese is an incorporated name.
Facts.
So that means that whoever incorporated China owns all the Chinese. And that's everywhere we go. Jamaica ain't Jamaica. Has another name. It's a part of Turtle Island that makes the people free. But as soon as they say Jamaican, those in a lawful mind say, we got you on legal terms.
Yeah.
A Caribbean actually means to be a carnivore. Is that what you are? What do you call when you're human?
A carnivorous.
You're a Caribbean is a carnivore.
Okay.
You're carnivorous. This is the meaning of Caribbean. So when people are proud, I'm a Caribbean. Really, are you carnivorous, huh? You're running around here eating people. So we don't know these things because we don't know our own structure. We don't know who we are. We're lost at sea trying to figure out who we are, taking cues from everybody else about who we are instead of operating within our own. I mean, just out of pride. Certain things. All right, so let's say I was in Hollywood and I was rich, right? This is what I would get in trouble for. Oh, I'm having a hard time because I don't work with these people. But there's a beautiful sister. She's about 60 years old. She's an actress. Oh my God, her name?
Eartha
Yes.
Kitt.
No, not Eartha Kitt.
Dang. She playing a lot of movies. Brown skin.
Yeah. Now she's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Her husband name is Courtney. I can't remember the rest of it. Courtney Vance or something like that.
You talking about Angela Bassett?
Oh my God. Now, if I was in Hollywood and I was P. Diddy right now, that's what I'd be getting trouble for. For going out to Angela Bassett. He tries to fight her husband every night. Every time we turn around, we're arresting him for fighting Angela Bassett's husband. Yeah, what are you doing with her? They'll wake up and find me pressed in their window. What? I got $1 million. Take that. I'm still peeking in the window. Not no little boys. Not no young girl. And I'm saying this just to say, like, where's your attraction at in law after you reach a certain age? What are you seeing? What are you looking at? What are you looking for? Because only somebody like Angela Bassett in a few years younger could even begin to spark my interest because of everything it takes to get to where we are.
I know that's right. No, that's for real. And you can only understand that if you understand that, or if you understand that, or overstand that, if you are in the right mind. Now, everyone is not in the right mind. People are existing in the wrong mind, and that wrong mind says that it's okay, it's acceptable. These are the things that you are to do, and it's really grooming is what's happening. The children have been groomed to be molested and to be harmed and hurt in certain ways. You know what I'm saying? It's a grooming process, and so it's been made a fashionable thing to do. And so
yes, ma'am.
It's been hidden behind religion and politics, where they say there's no separation between church and state. Well, there is separation between church and state when there really is not. And the way I see church and state is the spirituality, the unseen part of you, and the seen part, the physical part. So they took that concept and made it into something physical rather than spiritual, and made spirituality evil and demonized it. You know, when we have a thought, that thought is a seed being planted, especially if we speak it. That's why I'm cautious at what I speak. Now, sometimes I talk crazy, you know what I'm saying? Because yeah, I battle with myself, and I have to correct myself, you know, or be in the right company that's willing to correct me when I'm out of line and out of order in that manner. And I don't mind that, as long as you live in a righteous life too. You know what I'm saying? You living righteously, and you expect me to correct you when you step out of line. Sometimes we do that. But the
Yes,
point of what
ma'am.
I'm saying is we we realize that I've lost my train of thought. Good
We were
Lord.
talking about acceptance, what you accept, and how people just accept garbage in their lives or negativity in their lives.
Right, right. So, you know, we have to be able to correct ourselves and be open to corrective criticism. You know, be able to be a critical thinker, like I was saying in the song. You have to be a critical thinker, and you have to have some logic about your thought process. And if it doesn't make dollars, it ain't making no sense. And that's what
Yes,
they
ma'am.
say. Yes, ma'am. But the dollars is the currency, and the currency is the action of your doing. It ain't got nothing to do with a green dollar bill.
Dollar.
Right.
In a sense, is how what you acting off of. It ain't got nothing to do with nickels and dimes. It's your sense that you're acting
Right.
off of. So when you say grooming, that reminds me about brings the media back into focus in the 70s or the early 80s. They came out with this movie called Cindy, a whole Aboriginal cast. If you remember the name Clifton David, he was in it. He played the prince.
Okay.
But when Cindy got picked up at the train station by her father, of course, the stepmother and the two stepsisters didn't know she was coming. When she got to the house, they gave her a room in the bathroom. And I forget exactly how it comes about. But the father walks in, talks to his daughter a little bit, and then he's like, well, I could put you out on the street and get some money. This is the father talking to a young girl. And when we really watch movies, if you watch the theme, you'll see that a whole lot. Young girls going after older men. Older men going after young girls. And the way that they present it, it's like it's normal. Even if they hide it, it's presented as an older man should have an attraction to a younger girl. Now, how's the younger girl and her family going to handle it? But there's no penalty on the older man for having attraction to that child. And these are the perverse things that are in our music, our literature, and the TV screen that we should be trying to protect our children from at all costs. But lo and behold, it's been going on this whole time. It's not like it's new. And that's the focus that I try to present to people, because with that, Right now, everybody's talking about P. Diddy in Hollywood. But those same actions from Hollywood exist downtown in City Hall in all our cities and states. It exists in the capital of all the states. It exists in the corporations. And we don't see it because the average everyday person trying to pay bills doesn't come home and complain.
Right.
But I see the day when one woman stands up and she's going to state how she was sexually assaulted, mistreated by her superiors, and then every other woman is going to catch on and realize, oh, that's what I was going through.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
And once that happens, now that system will start to crumble down.
Well, I mean,
But it got so bad now. Say that.
It has happened. Women have stood up and made these announcements, and the thing is that money is a powerful tool when you believe in it. It's powerful enough to make you say that didn't happen.
And that's why it's going to take somebody, because see, the way it comes now, it's not the average woman who has made that complaint. Those women were upper executives and stuff like that. I mean, that just the average woman going home, taking care of her children, struggling to pay her bills, but she has had the advances made upon her. If she made herself available a certain way to certain people at a certain time, when she wakes up, her story will be so average that it will filter through the workforce, where almost every woman will see, I've been in that position. I handled it differently. He knew better than to even keep coming at me after his first slight. But it was pride. So it's like it's an accepted thing that goes on. So imagine the first sister that complained and her husband catches it. He hears it first. Does old boy still feel safe going to work? Because not the husband. The husband understands his wife. Now I understand why you coming home crying. You depressed half the time. I didn't understand before. Now I do. When I get up tomorrow, I'm going to see your boss.
But you want to know something? Let's pause there. Okay. And why I want to pause there is because that type of man is rare. I've seen now. I've had quite an experience with different types of men. I've been married 3 times and divorced 3 times. Don't judge me, judge a man. Nah, I'm saying this because I didn't feel as protected in these situations because I noticed men are usually get loud with the woman at home behind closed doors, but when they're in public, like Daniel was saying on the last show, how his cousin jumped from talking, thuggish ruggish to all intellectual and proper language and things. They get nice around a certain type of people, and it doesn't necessarily mean a Caucasian person. This is status and class. When you recognize someone is of a certain status or a certain class, you want to present yourself in a manner that is acceptable in that status and that class, whether you consider yourself to be a part of that status or that class. So this is a mindset. This is the on and off switch. Now,
Okay.
I think it's beautiful when I see men in that protective state. You know what I'm saying? And you being able to speak on these terms, and at this level, then that shows that you are that type of man. You know what I'm saying? Because you have that understanding. Now, what has to happen is there needs to be demonstrations of this. You know what I'm saying? But see, when people demonstrate that type of acts and those types of acts and behaviors, they are made examples of in the court system.
True. So
you know, so
that
then people become fearful, inferior to protecting, and they allow things to slide and pass. Oh, you'll get over. Just go to work, get your money, and come on home. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause we got to pay these bills.
woo yeah,
So
okay.
now,
Hey, look.
it's like a pimp. It's like a pimp situation in the household.
My God, man. See, you don't know how. See, that's why I did the card reading and stuff last night. Because this is how I sit around and I think on my own by myself. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't want to say I'm traumatized by the thought sometimes, but when you give me that answer about the pimp, I said a long time ago, the system is designed where a husband is pimping his wife because she has to go to work. Everything is basically downhill from here. Because our insides feel that. Our insides recognize that. Whether we actually take it on is another thing. But something about the common in us recognizes that.
Right.
Look, when I walked into the room, I walked in that classy person, that respectful person. I was operating in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice when I walked into the room, when I first took the hand, when I first said hello or Islamism. That's how I came to the room.
Right.
How we all leave in this room is going to be based on the conduct of everybody within there. Because I have no problem going from 8 to 80, and I don't care what your position is. Either you're going to be respectful and act right, or we can all dance up in here. I don't. And see, listen to me. When I speak, I grew up with men, and I do mean my age and a little bit younger, who operate or operated off these principles. This is what it was with us. So I don't understand today where we were so tough in the street that to protect our family, we don't have that same type of because it's just crazy to me that we lay down for what exactly, paying bills and things of that nature. I'd rather sleep in the gutter. Now maybe she don't want to sleep in the gutter with me, but then you're the wrong one for me, because I'm not taking anything in order to have money and survive out here like that. I won't do it. I can't. I can't even. I'm being tongue tied right now because I get flustered being put in that situation. That's why I say we all get pimped out in the end. Either you do this and you follow along, or you live in the streets and you be poor and you won't have nothing. I'll choke everybody in the room coming up with that plan. There's no way we should just sit and accept. But when we've learned to be inferior, that explains everything that we're talking about right now. And I get it. Wow, that was deep right there about the pimping part. That kind of touched me because I just feel some way about that. I really have feelings about that, and it's hard to express.
No, I get it. And see, this term right here is how I came to terms with understanding myself. I say that I am perfectly imperfect. I am my perfectly imperfect self. I'm my own pimp.
Perfectly imperfect.
PIMPS. Pimps.
Oh, Sasha said there's a really bad echo.
Oh,
Is it coming off me or is it coming off Side Star? But that was a deep statement, Side Star. That touched home. See, there's nothing wrong with a woman working, especially if she's doing what she wants to do.
right.
But the system is designed for, oh, you need two parents in order to work. And so who's taking care of the children?
Exactly. The
She said it's
system.
coming from me. Can you hear it? Can you still hear it?
You sound clear to me. Let's see.
Okay. And this is where I think we've been beat because no one has been taking care of the children for the past 20 years.
Say
They
that.
basically raised themselves.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of that, and the families were broken up. And so I was doing some research not too long ago. It's not fresh in my mind, so please forgive me if I'm not 100% in how I relay this message. But I was researching the original peoples and the term black and imprisonment and things like that. And so the worst thing you can do to any person is to uh, make them forget who they are. And so, in order to forget who you are, they take your name. And so, your name is one of the most significant things about who you are because your name precedes you or precedes you. And so, if they take your name, then they have criminalized you. And in criminalizing you, they have tainted your blood. And so once you become what we know as a felon or a convict or a criminal, your bloodline is now tainted and you are in the eyes of the law dead. You do not exist anymore. So they don't have to consider you as a human because your name or your bloodline has been tainted. I was like, man, that's pretty deep because it goes back to the war on drugs and the criminalization of the people and how you can when you get out you have no rights that you when you're under the system in legal terms your civilitier mortus. That's what I was studying, civilitier mortus. And I learned that civilitier mortus was only connected to the term black because black is not a real identification. And you can only be called something other than what is true or truly an identification if your blood is tainted and you are no longer seen as relevant or human. And so that's why it's important for us to understand our human rights over our what privileges are uh, given based on law or legal terms.
Yes, ma'am.
Greetings
And-
to the
and- and
sister in the room too.
you trying to bring her on?
No, I was just saying greetings to her. I just noticed the comments over here, and I just wanted to confer with her over here and just say greetings, so she knows that she's she is relevant and she is being acknowledged appropriately for being here. So thank you for showing up, sis.
Yes, ma'am. And so this is the position that we have put ourselves in by turning ourselves into blacks and African Americans when we could be anything: Mayan, Algonquin, Cherokee, Sioux. We could be anything we want other than blacks and African Americans.
Nameless terms. You give your name up when you call yourself black and African American. You detach yourself from the land because there is no black land. Now, I wanted to I wrote this note down. When you were speaking on terms of bloodline and the original navigators, we were navigating the lands and the seas and things like that, so we were already here. And you had mentioned that in 1865 when
After being free, we didn't form a constitution.
right, that none of that was formed. And see, and this is the interesting part about that. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, and I didn't know anything about Africa Town. There's only one Africa Town on this continent, and is in Mobile, Alabama. The last slave ship to come through on the transatlantic slave trade was the Clotilda, and these people were dropped on the port of Mobile, Alabama. Now, that was when everything blew up in their face, and it was like, you can't have these people over here. So what they did was they told the people, or they coerced the people to become American citizens, or citizens of the United States of America. And once they became citizens of the United States of America, they were no longer allowed to make the passage of the freed black man. Now, the passage of the freed black man was the passage into Liberia. Liberia is under the laws and regulations and ordinances of the Corporation of the United States. It is not an original motherland or African territory. It is a territory that was established by the mulatto people of the Louisiana Territory. Now, Mobile, Alabama was the capital of the Louisiana Territory. And when they purchased the land and they separated everything, Mobile continued to have the name of Mobile because there's history there. The Spaniards came there, and and then the French went into Louisiana. They kept the name of the entire territory, but excuse me, everything else was broken up. And that's part of the argument and debate between where did the Mardi Gras start. And here's something interesting about the Mardi Gras. There's a group called Les Nubians. I like their song Makita. It's a favorite song of me and my sister. And we heard this song on the radio. 93 BLX used to play it back in the day. And in this song, the video of this song, they're in Africa having a Mardi Gras. They look just like the people of Mobile, Alabama. Now, Africa Town is the only Africa town on this continent. And they just recently, to my knowledge, began to speak more about it. And the families of those people are speaking out. They have an organization. They have land because they have Africa Town. You know what I'm saying? They're now putting signs up where you can see the distinguishment between when you're on the interstate or the city loops or whatever, the signs where you know where you are, where you're going.
Billboards.
Yeah. So they Africa Town is there, and so it's been there. The people have been there. They never left there. You know what I'm saying? But those are people who were literally brought in to the port of Mobile, Alabama. And so because of the registration to become citizens, they were no longer legally able to take the passage back as a freed black man.
Because they became citizens of the United States.
Yes. And so the people stayed in that, in that area.
So here and that's another. Our people use interchangeably the United States in America.
Yeah.
Or they'll be talking about the United States Army and they'll say the American Army.
Mm-hmm.
No. They are the United States Army.
Yes.
They are not the Army of America. The land, the people, the water, the air. That's American. The institution of the United States is a corporation and a separate entity from the land, the people, the water, and the air. They just propose to govern all of it.
Facts.
And when we're talking with people, we got to remind them of that. Because again, we're giving away our power if we keep claiming America went and fought Hitler in 1942. No, the United States government went and fought Hitler. United States government, the United States government, as opposed to saying and giving credit to America for doing things that America never did. America is subjected to the United States and what it does. And so we have to be the ones to be the guardians of self and let that be known. That there's a distinct difference, and we're going to point that out to you every single time you say something about it, because I'm a Moorish American. And I did not do any of those. I didn't do any of those things that people are claiming that we did. Islam, Sasha. So being that I'm now I'm a Moorish American, to say that America bombed Japan, that's not true. That nobody who believes like I did bombed Japan. And when we heard about it as Americans, we were like, are you stupid? You're gonna do what? You're building a what? For what purpose? Even that, when it comes to all this stuff that has been built, one, I'm of the belief that computers computers existed in 1865. They had tablets in 18. I just think that they had tablets in 1865. They only allowed a few people to use them. That's why they was talking about crystal balls and stuff. See, they was telling us about this stuff. This is like a crystal ball right now that we're using. They had these things back in the day. They had airplanes, they had trains, they had all of that. They just reconstructed the story. In reconstructing the story, they would take it back to what looked like poverty to us. If you look back at old pictures and listen, how we in poverty when we got land with trees and the oceans are filled with fish and the animals are running around, the deers and stuff. How are we in poverty at that time? So they began to build these cities, or were they rebuilding cities? And because they didn't have proper technology, because I mean, they built them perfect pyramids and nobody could build them in 1865. So you couldn't build proper housing in 1865. Your public housing is a mess to the housing that we have today. There are better structures that we could live in, but the technology to get these things done, oil in the land, all of that, none of these were new discoveries during our time. They're old discoveries. We had the secret school system where we wouldn't teach certain things. So this gunpowder. I watched the movie with the Borgias. And the Borgias were a Catholic family. The father was a pope. He had a son, Cesare Borgia. Cesare, who people say is Jesus. Well, Cesare was at war. He wanted gunpowder. He went to the people who had the gunpowder. We're like, no, we can't sell it to you. And he was like, well, why not? Where's the other deposits? They said, no, we can't tell you. Well, why not? His father, the Pope, told him not to tell, not to sell, because all people would do was kill each other with this technology. This is the rest of the world coming up behind that type of thought, wanting to know these secrets that puts us in this situation that we're in today with the capitalism and everything else. And the libraries were robbed. No, the libraries weren't robbed. If they were robbed, but the people who robbed them didn't get rid of the information. They kept the information. They kept it in the Vatican. They kept it in their little secret castles and stuff. And then they start to operate that stuff to the point where we are today, where it seems like we just found oil in 18 this and that. No, people were dealing with oil back in the day. They just knew not to make plastic products because you can't get rid of them from the earth. You're going to choke off the wildlife and stuff like that. So we didn't make plastics. We didn't do this and we didn't do that. It was a choice we made not to do these things. Not all of a sudden people coming along and then we get all this greatness from them. I yield the floor.
Yes, you make great points there. And you want to know something? Veda is a part, that name comes from the Vedic, and the Vedic are the entities or ancestors that were in existence. They were highly intelligent people that created different forms of transportation and things like that. And so this was over 6,000 years This is before the Bible's time. The Vedic astrology is one of the first astrological points or landmarks in history of what astrology is. And so, in order to study the stars and to understand it, you had to understand magnetic pulls and things like that. So if you had a concept or knowledge and information about magnetic pulls, then you knew something about electricity. Now, in order to create what you're talking about, those crystal balls, those tablets and things that you could determine, if we can do it now, why wouldn't we be able to do it then?
Right? I think they use a crystal ball to build the pyramids. They're so exact. They point in the right directions. And this is what they say on the history stories. You know, they put so much into it. It had to be aliens who helped them. No, we had a tablet, and the tablet told us the GPS was right here to put it right there. So our people put it there.
Well, you
So
because they're at certain energy points, just like the city. In the way a city is developed, I learned in the army, doing land navigation. We had to learn how to plot our points and find our points, and the coordinations were the points in which we had to find. We had to learn how to do our coordinations and then find the coordination, plot it, and all of that. And then I started realizing the numbers on the buildings, and why the numbers don't make sense is because, like, you see some houses over here is this number and these over here is this number, and it makes no logical sense whatsoever to the human mind. That's because it's based on the coordinates, and the coordinates is based off of the stars.
okay,
And so they build constellations on land with the diagrams of a city on the map.
my God. So this brother told me a while back, you don't have to put your address on the mail. All you have to do is put general information, and you should get the mail to your house. I think it was the zip code he said you don't have to add. Just by saying New Haven, Connecticut, they know where I'm at. And you just said it, the stars.
Yeah. And so when you use the number of the house number puts you in their system because they created that coordinates under their system. It's not the system of the stars. They use the stars as guides, but they don't tell us that they're using the stars as guides. So instead of the stars being our address, we use these numbers which throw off the coordinates and gives them the power to say that we are under their jurisdiction. It
Yes.
comes down to jurisdiction now.
Yeah.
So when we
Very
use
good.
their house numbers and their zip codes, then we say we are a part of their jurisdiction.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's deep.
that is deep. And they ain't
That's
been
deep.
too many people having conversations like this now.
No, ma'am, not at all. They're having similar conversations, but they're not going
Similar.
to the meat of the problem for everyone.
That part right there. So that's why a new wave of thinking is coming with a different way or a new wave of frequency in how we receive this information, because see, we didn't talk about this or discuss this before we came on tonight, and I think we purposely don't communicate this just to see how things unfold. You know what I'm saying? Because it just gives it that much more interest in having this conversation, because it's a new conversation. We had this conversation before, so it's
Indeed.
interesting to get to this point right now, and to for that to unfold within this conversation and topic, because it's all relevant and it all makes sense to law and legal terms, and
Yes, ma'am.
legal terms and law all fall within the jurisdiction. And if
Yes,
we
ma'am.
are agreeing to the jurisdiction, then we have no grounds to stand on, literally. And we're standing.
Literally.
So we put, that's why our shoes got rubber on the bottom, and rubber is what you want to have under your feet to stop an electrical charge. So if the earth is pulsating on a certain frequency, we've detached ourselves from that frequency just by wearing shoes. That's why shoes are so important. Jordans and Nike and all these different, they sell you these shoes, and then they talk about people who choose not to wear shoes because it's weird, right? To not want to separate yourself from the frequency and vibrations of the way Mother Earth is vibrating, or the electrical charge that's coming from her. Because we're
It,
electric.
it's either freaky or it's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a person tell me that I was dangerous because I wouldn't accept the rigmarole. You know, you work for me, so you're supposed to act like that. No, I'm not. If you're telling me stuff that I don't feel is beneficial for me, I ain't doing it.
Right.
If you
I don't have to
if it
listen to you.
interferes, thank you. But my people can tell you when it came to my children, don't tell me what time I work. I'll tell you what time I work. I'm gonna leave the job to go get my children from their school. And if I don't have anyone to watch them, I'm not coming back to work. And so I ended up at a job where I had to work Saturday morning to make up for my time that I missed that night. No problem. But don't think that I'm working after 2:30 when my babies are getting out of school. I'm going to get them and spend my time with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's more valuable to me than your job.
Facts.
And so and I've just been that kind of person. So
Well, I can attest to that personally. I took my children out of school when it wasn't a cool thing to do. I didn't like the way the school system was handling my children. I didn't like the fact that it seemed as though my children were slipping away from me right before my eyes. Like, who are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not what I taught you. But then I had to realize I allowed them to be taught in a system that did not agree with the what's the word I'm looking for? How we operate at home.
yeah, with your level of decency.
Yes. And so children get confused because the teacher is telling them one thing, you're telling them another thing, and the teacher has them for 8 hours of the day while they're mostly awake, and their attention is open for this grooming of teaching, miseducating them against what they're learning at home. The teacher's not going to say, yeah, what your mom's teaching you is right, unless they agree. If they don't agree, they're going to tell you that you're wrong. And then I remember I think I was in kindergarten. I was going to school in Mobile, Alabama in kindergarten, and I was always a smart mouth. Like I always had a rebuttal. I always had something to say. I always had something to say. Please believe me, I ain't just become this person. And so my teacher put a dunce cap on me and made me sit in the corner. And I can remember my feelings in kindergarten. I could remember my feelings of her having this dunce cap on me, and I from that day I said no one is going to make a fool of me in the presence of my peers. When I got into high school again in Alabama, see, I didn't have these issues anywhere else. It was only in Alabama. Because I went to school in Massachusetts and Georgia and Alabama. You know what I'm saying? So I was around in different places. When I finished high school, I finished in Alabama. And I would ask questions. And let me tell it, I was asking questions that everybody probably had but didn't want to ask. So I would ask the uncomfortable questions because what you said don't even make sense. And you know it don't make sense, but you trying to make us feel stupid and dumb because you don't even know the material. So when I would ask the question, I was an immediate problem. And I was kicked out of the class to go see the dean. You know what I'm saying? It happened just about every single day. I was kicked out of math. It was really the class that I was kicked out because I had questions. And so because I had questions, I became a problem in the classroom. So excuse me, my attendance wasn't welcome. And now mind you, from coming from Massachusetts to Alabama, I had already exceeded the education level of Alabama high school. I didn't have to be there. I had already had all the credits to graduate. But because of my age, they kept me there. And there was certain other little requirements that I had to complete. You know what I'm saying? But I missed all that Alabama history and all that stuff. I missed all of that. You know what I'm saying? So I was not indoctrinated into the miseducation of most of the children who go to school and graduate in Mobile, Alabama. I had already surpassed their education level, and that's fact. And so, like I said, I was always a problem because I always talk back. Now, you said something earlier. You had made reference to something similar to what I'm saying right now, but from a male perspective. And I wanted to say I was just like that. Like you not finna talk to me no any kind of way. I don't have to agree with you because you think that you're superior to me. I don't care who you are. But see, I had to learn the regulations, right? So as long as I stayed within the guidelines of the regulation, I can say whatever I want to say to you. Just like you think you can say whatever you want to say to me. But if you step out of the lines of the regulation, you just violated me.
Very
And
much so.
I'm smart enough to know where you made that violation and I call you on it. Now, you don't want me to go talk to the first sergeant commander about you because I know how to speak. And I know where to find your violation.
And that's where I lose it at. Because I'd rather put my hands on you. I get more satisfaction. Listen, a lot of people tell me no. But man to man, there's certain things you don't say or try to do when you're dealing with another man. And that superiority part don't have anything to do with it. So you being a man and I'm a man, and in a lot of instances, people feel like because you work for them or some other whatever they think they're better than you. I apologize. I'm splitting lips. I I can't help it. You violated me, and you know you did it intentionally. So it's like if you walk over to me and smack me in the face, I could do whatever I want in retaliation, short of nothing. Because if you didn't smack me, then we wouldn't even be at this point where I'm considering hitting you with a chair now or whatever is in my hand.
I used to fight. Look, let me tell you what I learned. The pen is mightier than a fist.
I can't. Yeah. I must agree with that. I do believe in that and know that. But okay, so we're in an office. This person writes my checks to me. Does that allow him to call me the N-word?
No.
So when he uses that word,
that's because he got a boss.
Okay, so no, he doesn't have a boss. He's the boss. He writes the check. Now he used the N-word and he owes me a check.
So you have
I got to put my foot on you. That's the only thing I can think of now is put my foot on you because you top dog in here. There's nobody higher than you, and you're gonna try to use your power. See, I wish I was a judge, and a woman came in and she said, "No, he tried to molest me," and she could prove a track record. I wouldn't care what she did to him to save herself or to save another woman. That's what happened, dude. You couldn't control you. The woman felt like, and so now you just twisted. What do you want from the rest of us? There's no damages or anything for you to come back. They used to have this thing in law, agitate, something about agitation. And you being an agitator for a problem. The agitator got in trouble. They don't have that anymore. Everybody's supposed to know how to control themselves. That gives too much power to the bullies.
Yeah. That's why and you notice how bullying has gone to a new level because now you have the internet and people can get behind these fake profiles and bully you and in your face pretend to be your friend.
Amen.
And you don't know the difference.
Yes, ma'am.
Until until the cover is blown. You know what I'm saying? And that could take a long time sometimes. I done had
yes, ma'am.
Play with me. I get right on their platform and I call them out in front of their people. And I dare you to tell that lie to my face. I bet you can't. Because I know the truth about you, and you don't want me to tell the truth about you. You can lie on me all day, but you do not want me to tell the truth on you. So the best thing you need to do is leave me alone. Don't mess with me.
And I'm gonna say this in public. I screenshot my inbox. So.
Look,
I screenshot. I got proof.
My daughter just told me the other day. She was like, "Mama, you take pictures of everything." I sure do. Because guess what? I'm not gonna. I may not have them. I may not remember, and I might need that information. You know what I'm saying? Because I've had to defend myself against people on this internet. You know what I'm saying? You can lie on me, but you don't want me to tell the truth. That what you don't want.
No, they don't.
You thought I wasn't paying attention. You thought I wasn't paying attention because I didn't say anything.
I done shared screenshot of men who poked me. And the you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. What does that
There's a violation. There's a violation. So I screenshot it, cut it up, and posted, why this brother poking me? What the hell wrong with him? Delete, can't be friends with this brother. He too frisky. I ain't got nothing to do with that.
That is too funny. That's real
I
though.
caught,
That's real. That's
I
funny.
caught up quite a few, even young women, sitting up here begging for money.
Yeah.
And I need a man who's gonna. I'm not that man. I'm not supporting you. I don't know you. What? Well, just be generous. Generous what? Oh, you're begging. I don't do that. No.
Right.
And then if you
Look,
give them a job to do, they don't want to do the job.
they
They
don't
don't want
want
to
to
work
do it.
to get the
Like, what
money. So I'm just supposed to give you, and I don't know
let me
you.
give you okay. That part. That part right there. Because see, I had to go through homelessness with my children in tow. I didn't lose my children to the system. Now, this no knock against anybody who's lost their children, because that is a terrible, terrible thing to face. Is not having um no more chatting with you. Chatting with you no more. But what was I saying?
You lost your children.
Yeah, I didn't lose them. But that's a terrible fate to have to face in losing your children. But I've gone through bouts of homelessness to understand, if I can make it with my children, how am I going to feel sorry for someone who's out there by themselves when there are programs? Now, true enough, these programs are set up to only deal with you on the basis of drugs and alcohol. It doesn't really deal with your mental status. And when you're talking about, when you talk about the mental illness of the people, they want to put you on drugs. I've went through my experience with that as well. They wanted to, every soon as I go in and say I'm having these thoughts or these feelings or whatever, thinking that they're gonna, help me to understand. I had to stop going to therapy and counseling, because you ain't trying to talk to me and help me deal with what I'm really going through. Because what I was going through really was a spiritual awakening. I was coming into myself. I was leaving behind my lower self to come into my higher self. And that was a battle within self. And can't nobody help you fight them demons except for you. You're the
Amen.
only one that know the truth about them demons and why they on your back. Now you can
Yes, ma'am.
agree. Now either you made a deal behind closed doors, or they're attacking you because you're great.
Yes, ma'am.
And only your actions will prove which one you are.
Yes, ma'am. And
So
this is people can't stand.
yeah, I've had to stand. I've had to stand on all 10 toes with both feet on the ground. That's why I'm boots on ground, because that's real life for me. I'm not just saying it because it sounds good. We got boots on ground. No, I for real got boots on ground. I done
Yes,
dug my
ma'am.
toes. I done dug my toes into the ground. And I done showed my children how to do it.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
and it was because of my decisions that I made earlier in life that allowed me to do what I've done. If I hadn't
Yes,
have made
ma'am.
those decisions, I didn't. I fought myself about going into the army. I was a couple of days away from going to the MEPS to swear in, and I told that drill sergeant, I said, "Don't call me no more. You ain't signing my life over to you. Don't call me no more." Hung up in his face. So I said I was going to start school. I went to Bishop State Community College in Mobile, Alabama. I was playing. I wasn't ready. I was hanging around with this one and that one and doing this and that. And one day I had an epiphany and I saw myself. I saw somebody. Now, this is a real true story. I had a vision that someone dropped dope in my car and I got blamed for it and was sent to prison. I
Mm.
got home. because I used to ride. I had my first car was an '85 Crown Victoria, white with blue interior. I hung out in the hood. I was always with people in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Oh, give me a ride up the street. Come on, let's ride.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I had this vision. After I had that vision, I took it very serious because, see, I've always been in tune with myself and I've always trusted myself because I used to get kicked out the house when I was a teenager. I've slept on the beach. I've slept at people's houses. I've had to find places, and this has been happening since I was 15 years old. So I've had to learn that way of life early in life. So my point is, I saw that happening. I got home that next day. I called the recruiter. I said, "You can tell me anything. You have to tell me nothing. Just tell me where to sign. I'm ready to go." In 2 weeks, I was gone. And when I got there, it was a rude awakening because I really wasn't, I was mentally ready because I had made the conscious decision to go because I was more afraid of what was happening or what could have happened to me if I didn't go. So, yeah.
Some reason the screen is frozen.
Okay.
We was able to hear you talk. That's why I didn't cut in.
Okay. Because I see you click out and I thought maybe you was doing something.
No, I clicked out. I'm looking
Yeah,
at
your
both of us
screen
just
went to your
stuck.
screensaver. I see you now.
You see me moving my head?
Yes, I do.
Well, I don't see none of that.
You don't.
No,
Now you
ma'am.
can click.
I see both of us stuck.
Okay, yeah, no, we're both
So
in
as
my
long as you hear
screen.
me, we'll let it run.
Okay, so yeah, so it's been this conversation has gone in so many different directions. I'm gonna have to watch this over. You know, I really like watching uh the show after we've completed it. The last show I literally watched it and I would pause it and go back to it if I had to do something. But we've been having some really pretty interesting conversations here. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yes,
really
ma'am.
digging. I'm digging the vibe. I'm digging the level of communication and information that we're sharing here. And if not just for us, so we can leave something for our generations to know what we've been trying to tell them all this time, and that we're not just talking, we're actually living this life. This is not pretend. You know what I'm saying? This
Yes,
is very
ma'am.
much very much real.
And
And
so
so
last week you
mhm.
said something because I rewatched the show,
Okay.
and you has made a comment about seeing more men pushing baby carriages. And I just wanted to be known on my own accord. I push many a baby carriage. I've had children all around me. We're going to the park. We're going here and there, and the baby carriage got pushed. This was 2007, 2008, 2009. I even used to bring my son to work when he was first born in 2007, and I would have to hook the broom up to his carriage in order to sweep the floor of the laundromat that I ran my business out of.
Okay.
And I kept I had a diaper bag and everything to take care of my child. Because I never believed in cars. I still don't believe in a car. I'd rather have a horse and buggy. But I wasn't going to let us be immobile. We had to go. So I had the baby carriage and I pushed the stroller And what's the other thing when they out of the stroller?
The walker.
Not the walker, something else that you push in.
Like the buggy, like a wheelbarrow, like not a wheelbarrow, but a wagon.
Not a wagon, but a chair. A chair that they sit in.
A high chair.
No, not a high. It had wheels on it.
A walker.
But a walker is when they stand up in that thing, right?
They stand up and they learn how to walk in it. It
Okay,
got the
not a
wheels.
walker. It's not a carriage, but it's another type of seat where they sit down.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, I forget the name of it. But yeah, had those two. And I was on the move. I ended up
Oh,
getting
you're
around
talking about a
people.
stroller.
A stroller, okay. Yes, a stroller. So
Okay.
I ended up getting around a bunch of people at that time where a couple of the women didn't even, I can say they didn't want their children. And they were like they were in the middle of a go between of somebody else that I knew, and they would drop the children off. So I got my children and their children. I took all the children. We all gonna party and have fun. And that's what we did. So yeah, I just wanted to let that know. I pushed the stroller. What?
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's an honorable thing to do. And you know, I say that with the utmost respect. Sister Sasha says we call them "mommy don't love me" strollers because they want to be toted.
Mommy don't love me.
But they be too heavy to carry and tote around. No, you gonna get in this stroller.
Yeah, you going in the stroller.
Mm-hmm. The mommy don't love me strollers. Yeah, basically that's what's being communicated in their minds. That's funny. But yeah, man, let's see.
Yeah,
This has been a really good talk. I think it's important that children have that type of relationship with their father, and that a father takes time to show children how to be
love.
loved by a man.
Yes,
Boy
ma'am.
children, girl children. It is important for that balance in the household of man and woman and father and mother, you know, because if you don't have that balance, you lose you don't have a sense of the fullness of you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
and
Yes, ma'am.
and you're missing out on what love looks like, because didn't it take love to make you?
See, now that question right here, especially, you're gonna get the answer no. It didn't take love. It just took these two people who couldn't control themselves to get together, but they didn't love
Okay,
each other.
right, but see, but it's supposed to be an act of love,
It is.
because right, it is a supposed, and see, this is where the inappropriate and Sister Sasha Bay said the same thing, not necessarily. So yeah, but it's supposed to be an act of love in that connection, because it's you know it, but the mind is so warped that you don't associate the act with love with the heart. And I was just having this conversation with my daughter the other night. I'm not going to go too deep, but I'm just going to say this: the male and female genitalia parts are associated with their hearts. And if you don't if you use your parts inappropriately, you don't know your own heart.
Wow. That's deep.
That is deep. I have these conversations with my daughter because I want her to understand, like I said earlier in the show, I used to be ashamed to tell people that I had been married 3 times and divorced 3 times because what's wrong with me? You know what I'm saying? Why am I not keeping? And I realized I was trying to stay in relationships that were not beneficial because I made a decision based on the wrong ideas of what I was getting into, because the marriage has always been a sacred union to me. It was like if you were going to be engaged in the act of love, then you needed to be engaged in the act of love with somebody you were married to or in love with. And so I value marriage. I value the union between man and woman. And no matter how many times it didn't work out, I don't give up on love. I'm not going to ever give up on love because you learn through experience. And if you're willing to learn the lesson that was there for you to learn, you know what I'm saying? If you keep repeating the same thing, then something in that lesson you did not learn. So this stage of life that I'm on and in with myself, I had to learn how to love me and stop looking for someone to love me for me. See, we put that responsibility on other people rather than to understand you're worthy of your own love. You deserve you more than anyone else on this planet deserves you.
Yes, ma'am.
We separate ourselves from ourselves and then we say, hey, you didn't make me happy today.
Mm.
That's not my responsibility to make you happy. I was too busy trying to figure out what I was going to eat. You know what I'm saying? Just the simple things.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
yeah.
I still feel kind of ashamed of getting a divorce.
I
still feel kind of ashamed of getting a divorce.
It just,
don't.
and that was 12 years ago. It just don't sit right
That
with
was
me.
12 years ago. It just
But
don't sit right with me.
Because you tried your best.
because I've always loved myself.
I've always loved myself.
So going back to just loving me, that ain't no thing.
But you would love
So
yourself enough to allow somebody to hurt you or not, or get away from them if they hurting you.
to get away.
That part. So
And
you gotta
then,
love yourself.
yes, ma'am. And then to never allow myself to be put in that position again. That'll never exist. That's where everything is. To make sure that I'm not ever going through anything like that again. So I felt like I was good before I got married. I got married. I fell in love with her, and I got married because that's what people are supposed to do. We're supposed to get married.
Right.
Man, don't feed me that no more.
Right. No. I look. I'm now like at the point where it's like I'm not forcing myself to be in a relationship with anyone except for me, because I want to show my daughters that you don't need to have someone in your face or in your bed to be accepted. You accept you. You love you. I'm their first example of everything they experience in this life. So, what kind of example am I setting for them if I'm allowing them to see me get hurt all the time? Or
Yes, ma'am.
to see me being used and abused, not used but misused, because if you can't be used, you're useless. What I want to
Yes,
do with
ma'am.
you if you ain't doing nothing?
I like that breakdown right there. Misused. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you can use me if what I have is considered valuable in the operation in which we're operating, because I have skills and abilities and I have tools. So if I have the skills and I have the abilities and I've learned how to access and use the tools, then I'm useful. You want me on your team. Yes, you do. You do want me on your team. You don't want me on the opposing side.
At all.
No, you want to be on my team.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
want to work with me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And
That
that's
gotta. Everybody has to have that feeling for themselves.
right. That part.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know my value and I know my worth. And if you don't know your value and your worth, you think I'm gonna spend all day convincing you? No.
It's not gonna happen.
I'm not gonna convince you. You need to go over there in that corner, or you need to go over there in that mirror and look at yourself. When I was studying the Bible, and this is not to get religious, but there's truth in the book if you're looking for the truth. And one of the things that I found was the process of getting to the Holy of the Holies. And if you got as far back to the Holy of the Holies and you were not righteous, you were struck down dead. There ain't no questions asked. There was a pile of dead bodies in the Holies of the Holies because people went back there without doing the proper work.
Yes, ma'am.
They didn't follow the rules. You got to look at yourself in the laver. That's one of the steps. And once you see your reflection and you deal with what you see with a clean mind and clean hands, because you had to clean your hands first.
Yes, ma'am.
So then you get to the point where you're looking at yourself and whatever that reflection is, you deal with the truth in that reflection. See, people they don't even look in the mirror. And they put so much, and this ain't got nothing to do with nobody that wear makeup. So please don't take me wrong and do not get offended by anything I say. I don't wear makeup. I don't care how my skin may be acting up sometimes and looking. I don't wear makeup. I can't. My skin does not like it. I want it to be like everybody else and wear makeup, but I ain't cool like that. So they wear so much of makeup, they can't even see who they really are. They can change the contours of their. Have you ever watched any of these makeup videos?
I listen. I can't stand it. I never liked makeup. I didn't like weaves. I was told I was controlling because I wouldn't date women who had weaves and makeup on their face and stuff. If their clothes came out and they wasn't covered up, I was controlling. But I'm not making you do that. I'm telling you that if you're going to be with me as a woman, you have to be on that level yourself.
Right.
Instead, it was taken that I was trying to control them and make them do something they didn't want to do. No, that just means we're not going to be together.
Yeah.
So where's the control at?
Exactly.
Unless I'm controlling myself.
Right. And that's the only thing, that's the only thing that we can control is self. Where's your self-control? And so what people do is, and Sister Sasha said makeup is too much work. I know that's right. I be thinking like I don't even want to get up in the morning. People get up. People get up an hour, 2 hours ahead of time just to put on their face. Then that's what they
Be a
call it.
whole nother person walking out the door. A whole nother person.
A whole nother person. So look, this is a funny story. I think so. Anyway, it was a Asian couple that was in court. They were fighting. This is a real case, as far as I'm concerned. It's a real case. The man sued the woman for being ugly.
Oh.
Tell you the story. What happened? He took her to court because she had plastic surgery done to restructure her face. And when they had children, the children didn't look like either one of them. He was like, what are these children? But they was blood tests and everything. And they his children, they her children. Why they don't look like that? Or why they don't look like me? Come to find out she had plastic surgery to reconstruct her face. And she did, and when he saw pictures of what she looked like, laughing. When he saw the pictures of what she looked like before the surgery, he took her to court and sued her and won.
Because false pretense.
Because she
false
lied.
pretense.
Now, this is a real case. Now, you know it's people out here getting tricked with this makeup and everything. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if these women was getting taken or dragged to court because they lied about their appearance?
Yeah. It would be interesting. That'd be another interesting court case I'd like to be a judge for. So I just want to hear both sides free and clear.
I want to hear this story. It's fair because you are pretending to be someone that you put on a mask and made me think that that's what you look like.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's real. And so I think it needs to be taken serious.
It does.
So here in the Empire of Nubia, we the people, if you are considered being a false identity, charges can be brought against you in the court.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
We the people, we say no to false identification. You must wipe it off and take it off, and let's see your edges.
Let's see what came out of the womb.
Yes.
If it didn't come out of the womb that way, we don't want it.
Look, I know people like to dress up and they like to, do all that, playing dress up or whatever. But it goes too far when you don't even know who you are or identify with yourself. I can imagine people look in the mirror and don't like what they see until they put all this stuff on.
Wow.
That's self-hatred.
Wow, that's deep.
It's a form of self-mutilation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's self-harming.
Wow.
They talk about people with anorexia and bulimia, but we ain't talking about these people who can't go nowhere without wearing makeup or a wig on their head, or one of them body suits that make them snatched. You know what I'm saying? They get all snatched up. I ain't got time to be playing. I want to breathe. I like to breathe. And if I don't like my stomach, then I'm gonna have to go to the gym and do something about it, or I'm gonna have to stop eating the ice cream and cakes and pies and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have to make a decision that is gonna cause me to do something different. But if I'm comfortable with myself, I'm gonna still eat my ice cream, my cake, and my pies because I ain't got no problem with how I look. You got a problem with how I look? Go find you somebody you more interested in and get out of my face. Cause somebody
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. That's the only fair thing to do.
That's what I'm saying. So if you don't like me, go find you somebody that you like. Somebody like you.
Yeah, because I won't take the time to try to measure up.
That's what I'm saying. That's too much. I ain't got time to be playing with nobody like that. And I ain't got no time for nobody to be playing with me like that. Just go on about your business because I was happy over here all by myself eating my cake, pies, and ice cream. Leave me alone.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
want, now if it's for health reasons, and you want me to be healthy because you love me and you want more time with me, then you will make me see the value in myself that I could not see. That means you taking me to another, you are able to elevate me, elevate my mind, elevate my way of thinking. Then if you can elevate me, then yeah, I'll follow you, lead the way. I'm with you. I trust you. And if I trust you, I love you. And if I love you, I will allow you to lead the way.
Yes, ma'am.
Simple, simple as that. But it's certain things that have to be proven in order to get to that point. You don't just get to come over here and chastise me and make me feel a certain kind of way because you feel a certain kind of way about yourself. You don't get to do that because if that's the case, I'm gonna stay just the way I am because I'm happy.
And comfortable in me.
Because I'm happy.
Comfortable in me.
I'm comfortable. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
I told you,
So
but leave me alone.
So
it's about that time
it's
again.
about that time again.
Yes, indeed.
My
It's
phone
been real
lasted
good.
longer because it was charging all day. I didn't pull it off the charger at all today.
So you was ready.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I gear up for this. I gear up for this.
Gear up for this.
So
I
Friday night,
love being here.
it, that what you did on Saturday was awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So
So
when are we gonna get together for Friday and family night, or do you want to leave it on Saturday? Put it on Saturday night.
Well, let me say this, and I don't mind doing it on Saturdays because Saturdays are fun. Um, and but I'm in the process of transitioning. I didn't want to speak on it, too openly, but it's okay now because we count down. We on like one hand to count down now. We
Yes,
gone.
ma'am.
So it's a done deal. This is done in the sun. And so
Okay.
we on the move, and so it's all good. So I would really love to do it in my new place, and that would
Got
be
you.
the you know what I'm saying. That's the whole celebration because I'm telling you, my energy is gonna be different. You know what I'm saying? It's just gonna be there, and it's probably I'm hoping it'll be where it needs to be in order to come across and have that fun. You know what I'm saying? Twos across the screen right now, but yeah.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
This has been a very good conversation. I really love the fact that Sister Sasha Bay is over here interacting and engaging with us. It would be nice to have you on to have these conversations. I do want to say this before we go. I want to have a meeting of the mind with the women, the daughters of the matriarch. I want us to come together and identify ourselves so we know who we are, so that we are aware of what it is to be a daughter of the matriarch. I want to have this conversation with women. And the conversation can go just like this conversation right here. We don't have to be practiced or anything like that. We can just come together, and when we come together and when we in our right mind, and the message is clear that we're on the same page in the same book, then the conversation could go anywhere. And I'm interested to see where the conversation could go with women, and you here also, Brostar El Yagar, as a mediator, or to keep the lines of communication open to different topics if it goes off beat or whatever. You have the ability to gauge a conversation in such a way. So it's important that you are here also in the midst of that, and to show that you can be in the midst of women and not be inappropriate. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
And to be of support of this type of union and gathering. You know what I'm saying? So you will be setting an example that's not widely done, because there's a lot of men talking to men, and there's a lot of women in the room with nothing but men, and it would be nice to see women come to the room and a man is there as a support to those women in that engaging type of conversation. So yeah, I'm ready
And it's
for it.
my honor to provide such a service to the matriarch and to get it. Honestly, we'll never be saved as a people until our women are raised to the level that they deserve.
That's a fact. That is a fact. So thank you for that. And I'm gonna take us out with the song "Organize and Unify," if that's okay with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's get it.
Of the matriarch.
No,
This is a total recall of the matriarch.
my bad.
Recall the Ethiopian Empire. Ethiopian Empire. Maine to Florida, Washington State to California, from the UK to the University of Kentucky, from the Cape Coast to the Unified and organized. We are here to heal your mind, and you don't respect the vibe. Organize and unify, unify and organize. We are here to heal your mind, and you don't respect Jack Powerball. Agape love and wisdom presents to you. Heal from within as we transform transformational life coaching to empower you in the middle of all things, offering holistic healing for the mind, the body, and the soul. We must look beyond the shade of our skin, look outside the social constructs created through a casting system set up to have us looking at our differences, not our similarities. Here to heal your mind, and you don't get the God. Organize and unify, unify and organize. We are here to heal your mind, and you don't respect the vibe. Organize and unify, unify and organize. We are here to heal your mind, and you don't respect the vibe. What do we have in common? To create common unity. We are human. We are one, the human race, and we running in place. We are not a box of crayons. We are ourselves way beyond the sight of those who can see the matriarch, the difference. The matriarch brings the Pan-African Intelligence Network in the bloodless revolution of class action. Recall of the matriarch. This is the total recall of the matriarch. Right here, where we start raising the Ethiopian Empire with common law. Organize and unify, unify and organize. We are here to heal your mind, and you don't respect the vibe. Organize and unify. It's time to stop the killing. Unify. It's time to heal your mind, and you don't. From the Congo to the Bongo, common law is the supreme law of the land. It's time to stop the killing and start the healing. From the Congo to the Bongo, we need all hands on deck to organize and unify, to prepare for freedom, justice, and total independence in the exigency of Class Action 567. From Maine to Florida, Washington State to California, from the UK to the University of Kentucky, we are here to unite. Jackpot Powerball. Welcome to the Ethiopian Empire and the total recall of the matriarch, where we are opening up Pandora's box to break the Da Vinci Code of live and let live in one love.
Yo, your lyrics are fire.
I gotta give honor to Mandela Khan Davis for waking me up and opening my mind to understand, first of all, what the matriarch is and what it has been, and my position therefore within it. To know that I am a daughter of the matriarch. Nobody has ever told me that except for him. He was the one who introduced me to myself as a daughter of the matriarch, and he told me I was the chosen daughter of the matriarch, and that turned in to become the chairwoman of the joint chiefess of staff of the matriarch. That means I'm not the only one. There's other women out there like me, and I've been on the search to find those women. And so this is very significant to the time and what we just discussed and how I want to get with the women, because I'm not the only one. I'm not above any other woman, nor is any other woman above me. We are all in this thing together, and it is we that we need to see.
Islamism.
Islamism. It's been nice and it's been beautiful. Thank you for another lovely broadcast here, episode 3.
Thank you, Star.
You're welcome. It has been my pleasure and my honor.
Yes. Pleasure and honor. Yes.
All righty. So see you next week.
Next week. Thank you, people, for tuning in.
Yes, thank you so much for coming to hear us unfold into
And so next week, I'm gonna try to get my mother and maybe my dad to come on,
that'd be nice,
and a few other people their age who could tell us stories about the 50s and 60s when they were growing up, and the things that lead us into today. So anybody else that we know of those ages is welcome to come on.
That would be very interesting. I would love to hear their stories, because it's like a key, a lock chain. We have to mend where it has been broken in order to regain our strength as a unit.
Yes, ma'am.
As one.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. So, good night, everyone.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Yes, indeed. See y'all next week.
Next week, people.